Welcome to another edition of the Noles Podcast. I'm your host, Gregory McCoy. This podcast is by a fan for fans. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. I am not an insider. I do not work for a website. The majority of my content comes from me, in my opinion. Other information comes from the internet. Today is January 13th, 2020. And I think this is going to be my last two player highlights. I'm running out of players, and the self-imposed rule of with new recruits waiting 1 year to evaluate them or spotlight them, I might revisit that just so I can have more content to talk about. But here we go. All right, first player up, Caleb Ward, 6'1", 175, wide receiver. All right, and this is what I wrote about him. Fast, good hands, athletic. Charlie Ward's son, runs okay routes, needs to add weight, needs to get stronger. His dad, being a former quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner, can help him evolve as a wide receiver. He will have to put in an all-world offseason to be a contributor on this team in 2020. No NFL comp for him. He redshirted last year. He didn't play. He's got talent. He's fast. He's athletic. He's shifty. But like I said, it's going to take an all-world effort for him to get on the field and, beat out some of these veterans and highly recruited receivers coming in with this 2020 class. But maybe he's a late bloomer like his dad, so we'll just have to take the wait and see approach with that. I'm pulling for this kid. I really like him. I like his game. And I can see him, one day being a contributor on this team. The next guy I want to talk about, he was already written into this episode when I found out that he got medically disqualified, but I'm still going to highlight him anyway because he put 4 years into this program. And his name is Cedric Wood, defensive tackle. He's 6'3", 318 pounds. And this is what I wrote about him. Big, strong guy. He was stuck behind Big Marv, Corey Durden, and Robert Cooper. This guy can play. He sheds blocks well. He's athletic for a big man. This guy will need an all-world effort to get into the defensive tackle rotation. Getting stronger never hurts any player. Also, getting into the film room never hurts any player. This guy can help Florida State. He's a fifth-year senior. No NFL comparison for him. Like I said before, he was medically disqualified. He had a hand injury. He said it could have ended his life. So, I don't know if that's the reason why he was medically disqualified, but that news came down on, January 10th, I believe, last Friday. So, good luck to the guy. I still wanted to highlight him because he was written into this episode. And moving on to the next segment, which is going to be state of the program, Florida State. Not good. Norvell has a lot of work to do, mentally and physically, on this team. Most of your big-time programs have already wrapped up their 2020 recruiting and are on to the 2021 recruiting cycle. Florida State still hasn't finished this current cycle. And we still have questions at tackle, offensive tackle, defensive end, and quarterback. It's safe to say that this is a work in progress situation. And I can't really fault Mike Norvell for the current recruiting situation. He's just going to have to, make the best of it. Hopefully we can get some more offensive linemen in that can, get this offensive line at least to an ACC level. I don't feel like we're at a ACC level right now. So, I mean, you got to bring in a bunch of guys, man, whether it's JUCO, grad transfer, high school recruiting, whatever. This is like the focal point of this team right now. I feel like other than quarterback and defensive end, we're pretty good at every position. We probably are going to have to add another tight end because Trey McKitty left last Friday. So we're going to have to add another tight end because he does use his tight ends a lot in his offense. So we'll see what happens. Moving on to the next segment, which is going to be who out of our three main rivals, Clemson, Florida, and Miami, who do we have the chance of ending the losing streak against first? All right. So Clemson, no, they're too far ahead, and Florida State is not closing the gap anytime soon. It will take years to catch them, not months. Florida Gators, maybe. If this staff can put a competent team on the field, beating Florida is definitely a possibility. Okay, Miami, most definitely. I feel like if Blackman would have played in the game this past season, we probably beat Miami. I think old Willie Taggart wanted to lose that game. I think he wanted to get fired. I don't think he wanted to be at Florida State anymore. Miami closed out the year with losses to FIU, Duke, and Louisiana Tech. We got a better coach. So I think we can get 2 out of 3 next year. We can't go 0-3 for a third year in a row. We just can't do that. We're not being Clemson, like I've already stated. Florida and Miami are definitely on the table, I feel. We got to fix I keep saying this in like every podcast. We got to fix that offensive line. We cannot go into this next season, with below average offensive linemen. So that's going to do it for that segment. Let's move on to the next one, which is about the running game. Who's going to be our starter at running back? I'm hoping that we get Dewan Edwards out of Georgia. I think Anthony Grant is coming back. Kalen LeBourne and Jashawn Corbin are coming off surgery and may need more time to heal. Sheffield and Ward are unproven, but show glimpses of being, serviceable running backs in the Sun Bowl. Adding a JUCO here would help Florida State a lot. And if I'm guessing, LeBourne might be the guy if healthy, with Grant and Corbin being the top contributors. If Sheffield and Ward step it up big time, Norvell should give them a look. All right, so you got some running backs on this roster, but my only question is who's going to be the go-to guy? That's what we need to know. Who's going to be the go-to guy? I think if you get Dewan Edwards out of Georgia and he comes in and shows you, if he's even with any of these guys that you are projecting to be a starter, he's got to start. And then I would let Grant, LeBourne, and Corbin battle it out for, second reps. We just need a guy to be the bell cow. So that's going to do it for that segment. Let's move on to the next segment, which is going to be Kyle Myers. He's transferring. Found that out last Friday also. And I was wondering what happened to this guy. He was okay DB. Not great. He made plays here and there, but mostly he got burnt. And I wish this guy all the luck in the world, man. I don't consider him a major loss. We're pretty much stacked at the defensive back position. I just thought he was worth mentioning because he had put basically 3 years into this program. And, anytime a guy or kid, whatever you want to call him, puts that kind of time into Florida State, he's worth the mention. I mean, he played in some games for us. He made some interceptions here and there. So, wherever he goes, I wish him luck. I hope he makes it to the next level, and I hope he does well for himself. Moving on. I seen the strength and conditioning hype video with Norvell and the team. I hope lifting weights is a part of this, because we look like a JV team compared to other ACC teams. I can't stress how important this aspect of the program is. This will help us get back to elite status. I don't know what's been happening like the last 5 years, but our strength and conditioning program is like non-existent. I mean, you, like I've said in previous episodes, man, some of these top teams out here, they just look like they just, they got a robot factory and they just create these guys. Like they make these guys on video games or something. But this new guy, he's got all these certifications and degrees, so hopefully he can get us back to where we once was. That would be Josh Storms, the strength and conditioning coach. So let's hope he can get it done, man. All right, next up, looking at the national championship. All right, to me, this is going to be a key matchup. Thaddeus Moss versus Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons is the better athlete, but Thaddeus Moss can play. So if Simmons is on Moss, I like everything. I think everything else should be open. Like I said before, LSU run the football. Keep Trevor Lawrence on the sideline. Score 7s, not 3s. Clemson, get 3 and outs and score at will. Divinity will play in this game, so that's a added pass rusher for LSU to contain Trevor Lawrence. This is going to be a great game, man. You got like the individual matchups in this game are going to be crazy. I want to see Stingley and Dalpitt go up against Ross and Higgins, and Terrell against I forget the LSU receiver's name, but he's a really good receiver. And it's just going to be a great game, man. You got NFL talent all over this field, man. It's going to be a really great game. All right, next, I wanted to talk about the honeymoon phase with Mike Norvell. Everybody's in love with Norvell at the moment. He's put together a great staff, quotation marks. Remember 2 years ago, they and you was saying the same thing about Willie and his staff. Questions. Who's going to be Florida State's quarterback? Who's your offensive tackles going to be? Who's your running back going to be? Now Florida State needs another tight end. Where do we find him at? The real questions about this roster have not been answered, so I approach this with a degree of realism and patience. This roster should be fully formed by June. Then we will know what we have. So, got to be patient. Let the man build a roster. We know he can coach. And I'm going to preach patience. Don't put, undue expectations on his staff just yet. Let them get some guys in and let's see what they can do. All right, moving on to the next segment, which is going to be the top 10 Power 5 teams that will never make the college football playoff. All right, number 10, Oregon State. Number 9, Wake Forest. Number 8, Northwestern. Number 7, Iowa State. Number 6, Kansas State. Number 5, Kansas. Number 4, Duke. Number 3, Indiana. Number 2, Rutgers. And number 1 is going to go to Vanderbilt. these schools are never going to make it to the college football playoff. Like I said, they are all from, most of them are from different conferences. So I would bet anything that if one of these teams go undefeated, they're not getting in. There's no way. No way. It's not happening. So that's going to end today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're listening on YouTube, please go down to the description and click on one of the links and subscribe. If you like this podcast, it's available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify Podcasts. And as always, go Noles.